All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, the first spring training games of Major League Baseball are set to take place in 3 weeks, but simply don't hold your breath that you'll be hearing the crack of the bat anytime soon. Both the players and the owners are still in a stalemate in regards of getting the new CBA done. There are so many sticking points that were in place prior to the owners lockout of the players, and they are still in place. And one of the things that the players are talking about, and most notably, New York Mets starting pitcher Max Scherzer recently tweeted about this, and it's the issue of tanking and teams going young because in both scenarios, you're taking jobs away from the veteran players. You look at it right now, and I mean, tanking, of course, has surfaced recently in multiple professional sports, and honestly, it takes away from the integrity of the game because you have teams out there that simply are not trying to win, and it does a disservice. And we're seeing that. We've been seeing it in baseball. I know Rob Manfred has talked about it actually working one case scenario being the Houston Astros. But the bottom line is, how many World Series championships are you going to give out every year? You're only going to give out one. So, I mean, at the end of the day, these teams can say whatever the heck they want. But nonetheless, it's taken away from the integrity of the game. You talk about revenue sharing as well as a luxury tax. And this is a scenario, for years, we've seen the big market teams give out the money to the small market teams. And then on top of that, we're seeing the big market teams get punished for being willing to spend. Of course, the Dodgers recently have said, you know what, screw it, we're just going to pay the luxury tax. And I think under new majority owner Steve Cohen, the New York Mets are going to be trending in that direction as well. But teams like the New York Yankees and teams like the Boston Red Sox have been hindered by that. And, why should they have to be hindered due to that? These teams and some of these owners are willing to spend the money for the top players out there. And you're always hearing about competing. But, a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, to their credit, they are one of the smaller market teams. They're struggling to find a new stadium and so forth. But nonetheless, they still go out there and compete. And the Rays have a great system in place. And the same can be said for the likes of the Oakland Athletics. But you have some teams out there that are simply not trying, and they're simply just taking that money that they get from revenue sharing, just doing whatever they want with it. At the end of the day, I've always been a proponent, and I've said, listen, if you're going to have a hard luxury tax that penalizes the teams that are willing to spend money, you have to have a floor for in regards to the minimum that a lot of these teams have to spend. MLB doesn't do that, and they need to do that in order to get with the times. Now, the players want the minimum salary raised from 570,000 to 775,000, while the owners are proposing that it be raised to 615. I think at some point they'll find a happy median and meet someplace in the middle, someplace between 615 and 775. The union has also agreed to expand the postseason from 10 teams to 12 teams. And to me, I think that's a ridiculous notion. I know that, the owners are probably going to want to get some more of that postseason revenue. But my biggest thing is this: you have 162 games to figure this thing out. You have three divisions in each league. I'm totally on board with the wild card game. The top two wild card teams, or the top two records rather, that didn't win their division get in. I'm totally on board with that. But at this point, you're just watering it down and cheapening your product. This isn't a scenario like the National Football League where they just expanded from 12 teams to 14 teams, and it's a one game win and in scenario. No, baseball is about the series, and of course the wild card game is just the only win and in scenario that you have. But nonetheless, you don't need to expand your postseason any more than what you're doing right now. Unfortunately, the union and the owners, they're not that much closer to a deal than they were when the lockout began. And I know that there are going to be some people, and I agree with them, that the owners did not have to have this lockout. Of course, the CBA expired. They could have just kept negotiating with it while allowing, the operations to go forward. And they're not doing that because it's all about the egos right now. And the thing is, the owners, they simply come across as a group of guys that feel like they can lowball the players, and the players will have no choice but to give in at some point. And the way things are looking right now, both sides, nobody's going to get fully what they want. And I think you have to find a way to meet in the middle. But there's a distrust factor right now that we're seeing from the players in regards to the owners, and there's an arrogance from the owners and like in the direction of the players. And I think the biggest problem from this whole thing is there has never been a sense of urgency to get this done. The owners locked out the players in December. So we've had nearly 2 months of this now. Spring training's right around the corner. And even with that said, there just doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency to get a deal done. I highly doubt that you're going to see 162 games. First and foremost, the season is not going to start on time. I highly doubt that you're going to see 162 games. And honestly, like I said before, it would not surprise me to see the 2022 Major League Baseball season canceled altogether. You look at these owners, they want to get their way. On top of that, most of these owners, they have other business entities that are going to make money from them, for them rather. And the people who are going to suffer, it's the players that aren't making that are they don't have the big time contracts, but also it's going to be the people that work at the stadiums. Those people are not going to get a paycheck. The people who work in league offices, because typically when you're lower on the rung, typically, when in situations like this, when there's some belt tightening, you're going to be the one who's out of a job, and it's going to be unfortunate because egos are ruling the day right now. And like I've said before, and I will continue to say it, Major League Baseball is walking that fine line of the razor's edge in regards to their waning popularity. They are not as popular as the National Football League, not as popular as the NBA. And then on top of that, you're giving an opportunity for other sports such as hockey and soccer to overtake you. And I say that because, like I said before when I talked about this, nobody, unless you're a hardcore baseball fan, the casual fan may not pay attention to the beginning of the season in March and April. Why? Because you have so many other things going on. You have the NCAA tournament and men's basketball. You have the end of the regular season in the NBA. You have the end of the regular season in the NHL. Next thing you know, their respective postseasons are going to begin. You also have the NFL draft in April. So it's a situation where, you know what, you could have a situation where the season is postponed or canceled, what have you, and nobody's paying attention to it because they have so many other things on the plate. And we've already talked about Major League Baseball not doing the best job in regards to marketing their best players and so forth. So I look at it like this: Major League Baseball, they are playing with fire right now, and typically when you play with fire, at some point you are going to get burned. What happens? We're not going to see this season start on time. The 26th is right around the corner. Don't expect those spring training games. Don't expect pitchers and catchers to report anytime soon. If you have a season, I wouldn't be surprised to see if you had a shortened season without an all-star game. That's the way it's going to be. But honestly, I'm not even holding my breath for that. Again, it would not surprise me that there is no baseball in 2022. And it's a sad connotation that egos are the sole part of it. And when you think about it, the 1994 player strike wasn't that long ago. And obviously, you have some of the owners for these teams that were in place then. And with that said, they didn't learn from that, and they obviously won't learn from this one as well. It's sad. The fans are hurting. The people that work at the stadiums are hurting, and the lower tier players are going to hurt as well. And it's sad because this situation could be resolved much easier, but Eagles are ruling the day. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.